Hey guys, what's going on? We got another Mythic Plus video here, and we got Waycrest Manor plus 22 going on. As you can see, we got one heck of a comp. We got a Prot Warrior, which is me. We got a Mistweaver Monk, a Paladin, and two Warriors. So, basically, just trying to show that your comp doesn't really matter when it comes to keys. Although if you are pushing the top level 30s, it definitely matters. And then if you just want it to be easier, yeah, it does matter. But for the most part, as you can see there, I had some trouble grabbing a frog, and then the healer pulled aggro somehow. But anyways, um, comps are overrated. Now, I say this because if you're not doing anything over like a 25 or maybe even like a 27, you can get away with almost anything. Um, it does get, the difficulty does get increased with a worse comp. As you can see with ours, we do have a little bit of trouble, but it's really not that bad. So if you're making a group, honestly, just try to grab something that complements each other. And if you're just slamming a key for the week, just grab whatever, to be honest. It I see all these groups trying to mid-max as much as possible, and I get that. You want the key to go easy, but if you're specifically asking for Mage, Lock, Aug Evoker, Vengeance, Demon Hunter, and I don't know, what was the other thing? Probably a Priest or a Mistweaver, I guess. It's like, you don't need those specifically, and you're gonna sit there forever, and that doesn't even guarantee your key is gonna go well either. Like, people that do these comps, like if you watch the MDI, these top level players are doing this because they can mid-max every little bit of each of those classes. And people don't seem to get that. They see this and go, oh, this is what we need to play, and this is the only thing we need to play, and that's not the way it is. And I think Raider.io does a great job every once in a while doing the Break the Meta challenge. If you don't know what that is, it's taking classes that are, I think they choose based on popularity or quality. I'm not sure how they choose it, but I think it's more based on popularity, where if you choose, let's take tanks for instance. The best tanks right now are Prot Paladin, I believe Blood DK's in there, and Vengeance Demon Hunter. Where the other three tanks, oh, maybe Brewmaster's up there. I'm not sure. I haven't looked in a while, but basically those three you can't play, so you have to play Prot Warrior, Guardian Druid, or Brewmaster, let's say. And for healers, I know nothing of healers, but I'm going to assume it's going to be like Disc Priest, maybe even Holy Priest, uh, Holy Paladin, maybe? Aug Evoker, or not Aug Evoker, Preservation Evoker, sorry. Those are the healers you need. And then for DPS, you need three that are not chosen, if you get the idea. And I think that's a great one. And you have to do, I think it's a plus 15 or higher. I mean, or maybe it's 20, I'm not sure. We always end up doing 20s just because that's how you max out your vault. But I think these types of challenges are great for the community and just the game in general. I'd like to see something of it by Blizzard, to be honest, for like a weekly quest or something, but it does become difficult to do for them because they don't want to discriminate classes, right? Just because these are popular, why is it for this week, I can't get into a group because nobody wants me because they want to do the challenge, blah, 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 blah. And I understand that. And right now, I believe if you're a demon hunter in general, you wouldn't even be able to do that because I believe both Vengeance and Havoc are S tier specs. I think. I don't quote me on that, but that's what I believe. And that's when things become difficult, is when a certain class, and then some people have time to play alt, some people don't. And it becomes difficult for them to get that sort of achievement done. But I also think it's great for the game because it pushes people to play something new, to invite these specs that don't normally come to a key, and honestly, it broadens people's horizon on classes, which I think is great. But another thing I would like to talk about is I have heard, and I can't say this is concrete or not, but in War Within, they might be removing the Mythic Plus affixes aside from Tyrannical and Fortified. So Sanguine and all that might just be removed, and they're only going to do Fortified and Tyrannical. I would like to know your thoughts on that. Uh, I personally, I'm with it and kind of against it at the same time. And the reason why I am against it just a little bit is because these affixes do add a little bit of flavor to the dungeons every week. And now I get it, some of them are minuscule, like right now it's entangling and you just move out, use Blade Storm, use Hand of Freedom, or use anything to break a movement impairment, and it's irrelevant. And then you got things like Bowstring, which really can break a key, same with Bursting, pardon me, where you want to do these big pulls and you can't because the specific units that are super weak bolster everything around them, causing things to get even bigger. Like Waycrest Manor, for example, those dogs, the little thorn hounds that run around this courtyard, they buff bolstering and they also burst. And that is, my opinion, a big issue with this dungeon. And the reason why is because one, there's about 8 or 9 of them, and they all die pretty quickly. And you try and bolster something with that many stacks and tank it, it's usually going to be a nightmare. Or bursting, you're instantly getting 10 stacks of bursting, which is a bit easier to deal with than it rolling. And if you don't know what rolling means, that means the debuff going down to 1 second and then being refreshed to 10 stacks from 9 and dealing its damage all over again. It does become a problem, and I think it would be great to remove them, sort of. But in my opinion, I would really like to see mechanics that, if you do them correctly, they buff you, but they don't really give you inconvenience on the other hand. Like, when was it? I think it was season 1, the Storm affix, the final tier one, before they removed it all. You would have to find your partners. You'd get positive or negative, and you would have to find your partners and connect them, and then you would get a damage buff. I thought that was interesting, right? I thought that was a great idea, but the downside is if you didn't do it, you got stunned and basically wiped the group. And that's not so nice. Um, my idea is like maybe every so often a puddle gets put on the ground and you get a small haste buff or something like that, you know, just minor things to help you go along with the key and get higher keys done. I think that would be a great idea, but also it does add in an outside power to buff you and so on and so forth. It's hard to say. I would like to see something done where if you do mechanics properly, you gain a buff. And I think that would incentivize people learning the mechanics more and um, being rewarded for doing that as well. I think that would be a great idea because a lot of people that run keys, and I've seen it especially in the lower keys, they don't care about mechanics. They don't even look at them. They don't know what they do. And I think that's a big issue. There's no incentive to learn them either, which is really weird. Like, people don't look at guides. They just run into the dungeon, expect to be carried, and don't even bother trying to learn the mechanics. And I think that's very, very silly. So if there is something where they could just be like, everybody dodge this frontal cleave, gain like 2% haste, you know, something small. Not like gain 100% haste, that'd be silly, but gain something small, maybe a little bit of damage reduction, or the boss takes X amount of damage increase, I don't know. But some reward for doing mechanics properly other than just you're not dead. You know what I mean? Because most of these mechanics below I want to say below a 20 won't kill you. They'll deal a lot of damage to you, but they won't kill you. And I think that's a problem because people will just stand in it and not give a crap. And now, a lot of people, now I'm not saying every single one of them should do that, but I think like a major thing, I don't know, it's a weird thing, but them removing the dungeon affixes would be fine, but I think it would make the dungeons a bit boring, depending on what the difficulty will become in War Within. Maybe the dungeons will become much harder. Maybe they'll have twice as many mechanics, or maybe they'll focus more on, I don't know, yeah, more mechanics with the mobs, something like that. But again, I've heard a lot of people say that World of Warcraft is very complex and difficult to learn for new players, and yes, it is, with the amount of things that have happened. Buttons increasing. The talent tree is also a bit intimidating, to be honest. Um, I think that's also another factor why Mist Pandaria to I think it was Shadowlands. I thought the three option was a really good talent system. You have the option between this talent or this talent, this one, and it simplified things. And I understand wanting a talent tree, but no matter what sort of talent system they bring in, it's going to have a cookie cutter effect. It doesn't matter how many talent trees you have, doesn't matter what different ones you got. It's like there's always going to be this is the best option and this is how it's going to be. There's there will be, somewhat different builds, but you get that with every form of talent system you bring into the game. And I think simplifying it would be the best way, and if they want more players to come in, then yes, simplifying it has to happen. Also, another thing that I've heard mentioned is there are a lot of damage modifiers going out. So let's take Arms Warriors, for instance. Venruki and both Automatic Jack, I believe, talked about this. I watched a video recently, and there are a lot of damage modifiers that I've have noticed. And they just made it clear that, yeah, it is an issue. Like, Overpower increases the damage of your Mortal Strike. Execute also increases the damage of your Mortal Strike. And in my opinion, that is a silly system. And on top of that, why is execute increasing a damage of a button that you shouldn't be pressing during execute phase? Like, in my opinion, for an arms warrior, and maybe warrior in specific, execute should be your biggest damage dealing effect when it comes to the execute phase. Everything you should do, and I get that maybe it's boring, you're hitting one button, whoop-de-doo, but it's execute. If anything, Mortal Strike should be increasing the damage of your next execute. And I think that would be a better effect in my opinion, because Overpower buffs Mortal Strike. Mortal Strike buffs execute. And I think that would be a great system to work into. And I get it. Not a lot of people play Arms Warrior. It's not very popular at the moment. One of my favorite iterations was actually Nightmare, Emerald Nightmare from Legion, where you had the bonus effect off GCD to buff Mortal Strike. And the reason why I loved it was because I liked seeing that massive Mortal Strike hit. But that was about it. But anyways, more about Mythic Plus. If they do remove the affixes, I think it is kind of going in the correct direction, simplifying it a bit more, where players can focus more on the dungeon mechanics rather than the mechanics that are being added. But at the same time, it might bring down or it might cause Mythic Plus to be a bit more boring. I don't know. Uh, Honestly, lately we're way more than halfway through this season, and I am quite burnt out, to be honest. I've tried making alts. Even on PvP, I'm kind of fried right now. I've been playing a lot more Season of Discovery and enjoying it there. And that's not because, you know, it's classic. Oh, I'm a classic player. No, it's new content interests me, right? And once something's been going on for so long, it's kind of it dulls the effect, right? And there's no incentive for me to push Mythic Plus anymore. I reached 3100 on the Shaman, and there's nothing past 2500 to be honest. And the only thing past would be getting your title, and you would have to compete with the best players in the world, which sure could be kind of fun, but it's more of, oh, let's do this key. Oh, we wiped once, cake, scuff it, and now we gotta try and get this key again. And to me, that doesn't sound like fun. And I get it. The ceiling's gotta be somewhere where there isn't an incentive to push anymore, but also there has to be something for the top players that want to push, and I get that, but I don't know, maybe they need to make a more split up reward system or maybe a better one. I know they've been saying it in the PvP community where it's been terrible reward system anyways, but Mythic Plus, I'm not sure what they could do. Obviously there is gear which caps out at a plus 20 and so on and so forth. I don't know what else they could possibly do, but it's a means to an end to be honest. You go so far and then you're like, okay, we're done here. And that's about it. Same with rating, you know, you do it and that's it. And if they want it that way, okay, that's great. Uh, that is the way to do it. Where, okay, once you've done it once, do you really have to do it again? Not really, but you can push your gear if you want. If you want all the gear, you got to do it again and again, and that's fine. But if they do want to keep releasing patches during this mega patch, I think they have to change something. If they want us to stay interested in it, or if they want us to play their other games, I guess it works too. Like Season of Discovery's been fun. Cleared Nomergon for the first time. It's a blast. But even Season of Discovery, after you do it so many times, right? You're kind of burnt out. But I don't know how to fix that. I don't know what would fix that anyways, other than just more content. Now they in War Within they are bringing out the delves or whatever, the dungeon or cave diving or whatever, which kind of sounds interesting, but I'm not a big person on world content. I like dungeons, PvP, and raiding, and that's all I prefer to do. I don't like questing. I really don't. If I had the option to level in a new expansion through dungeons only, I would. But I do love learning the quest line for the first time. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing I heard is that they are planning on removing the affixes aside from tyrannical and fortified. But that may mean they might buff all the mobs and stuff. And I have done dungeons on just fortified or tyrannical at a high level. Like I think we did a 24 or something freehold last season because there was a bug going on and it was just a joke. It didn't even feel like a Mythic Plus, to be honest. It maybe there was some other bug going on, but it did not feel like a dungeon at all. It was just run in there, beat the crap out of everything, and that was it. And stuff didn't even last that long because you're not worried about anything else. But yeah, I thought that was something. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on whether they should remove affixes or not. I think it might be a good thing, but I also have my doubts on whether it'd be fun or not. It's hard to say, whether you're just doing the same dungeon over and over again. But yeah, that is it for this video. I'm not sure if I'll keep doing dungeons or I might try and find something else that might be interesting. Maybe a bit of Season of Discovery, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Laters!
Collapse.